we are, I think, seeing now with both the Ukraine-Russia conflict and escalating events in the Middle East, the potential for dissent and the difficulty in creating a sense of broad domestic support for those kind of conflicts. Do you agree with that assessment? Do you think it's becoming harder for America to be involved in wars that don't directly affect American people?
People are seeing in Western Europe and in the United States the impact of the globalist effort to shatter our cultures with mass illegal immigration from many places around the world that don't have a memory or a history of democracy, women's equality, and civil rights. And I am the daughter of an immigrant, the granddaughter of immigrants. I believe in legal immigration. This is not a racist thing I'm saying, but you can't have a democracy with open borders. You can't have a democracy in which non-citizens, flood into the country against the laws. You can't. It's not possible by definition. And you can't have a culture if the people are coming in from so many different places so quickly that they can't get acculturated to what it means to be American or what it means to be British or what it means to be French. And that is, again, not a racist thing to say. Cultures are precious, right? And Western cultures are also precious. I'm not saying they're, better in every way than every other culture, but liberty, democracy, human rights, these took centuries to develop as a social consensus in the West. And intentionally, the globalists are flooding my country and your country with people from Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, no history or memory of democracy. And these injections are killing and disabling the people who do have those memories, so that, as Ed Dowd says, who's bringing forth these data sets of people being disabled and dying, wait 5 years. And you're going to have a completely different demographic with a different institutional memory in Western Europe and North America, in which the globalists can just roll out their neo-feudalism, because the people who remember democracy, freedom of speech, human rights, women's rights, equality, accountability, transparency will be gone or too sick to fight. All right, so in America, what this goes to is nationalism, right? And in Western Europe as well. We've been taught, especially people like you and me who lived on the adorable left, we've been taught that nationalism is a dirty word and that you shouldn't love your country and you shouldn't say, being British is great or being American is great. But that was a trick. Nationalism can be very, very beautiful. It can also be turned to negative ends, of course, like anything. But there is a resurgence of patriotism and nationalism in America. And our founding fathers did say, don't get enmeshed in foreign wars. Take care of yourselves first. Don't become the world's police, essentially. So absolutely, we're looking in the US at 12 to 16 million people having illegally come in over our borders. They're mostly fighting age men. They're mostly being positioned in staging areas around the country in group housing, given every kind of support and benefit. And we're really worried about this being a military operation, right? And same thing is happening in Western Europe. And we're looking at our veterans waiting 6 months to get an appointment for PTSD. We're looking at our own kids having pathetic educational opportunities, joblessness. And we're really thinking, okay, enough of this. I mean, that's why Trump is doing so well. We're going to take care of ourselves. We're going to close our borders. We're going to look after our own people. It's not our war, right? We have our own war to fight at home. And I think that's happening in Western Europe as well. And it's the rise of the right-wing parties. But if the alternative to the right-wing parties is kind of the EU suspending all of your autonomy and rights as subject people with no accountability, which turns out is what the EU is all about, unelected diplomats deciding what happens in your country, and you get no say in your community, no say, no real democracy at all. I'm not surprised that right-wing nationalist entities are rising up, and a lot of them are making a lot of sense.
Controversial subject, isn't it, on online spaces, replacement theory, and yet further to, observe, that these are mostly males, which is a sort of something that people have commonly observed about immigration. And I suppose the more neutral, shall we say, if you can even use a word like neutral now, take on that would be, well, those are the people that would come looking for opportunities for work.
It's not true.
Go on.
People who say, it's normal to have military age men with no military haircuts, whose clothing all seems to come from the same place, who all have the physique of soldiers, pour into your country and mine. That is not normal. Again, I've read a ton of history. I know the history of my own family's waves of immigration to the United States. And I've been in conflict areas and refugee camps around the world, and I've seen, refugees. They don't look like this. They come in families, or like my grandpa, they wait 6 years and work to bring their families in legally so that they can be Americans or British or, whatever it is they want to be. If you look at the people pouring in, I'll stick to my country because I haven't looked at the streams of immigrants into Britain or Western Europe as carefully. But in our country, the people who are flowing in, there are no disabled people. There are no elders, like none, right? There are pretty much no babies. There are childbearing age women. Everyone's very fit. They don't carry luggage. They are having, and I did original reporting on this and broke this story. There's a 3-country staging area south of the United States that the combination of the UN and our own State Department has put together to solicit, support, feed, shepherd, ferry, transition, and then bus and fly these millions of people of military age and military demeanor to certain incredibly sensitive areas around the country. O'Hare Airport in Chicago, Boston Logan in Boston, and then to house them, which has never happened before in the history of U.S. immigration. Not my grandparents, not my dad. Never did the government give anyone from anywhere, let alone descendants of enslaved people in our country, free group housing in barracks type accommodations. And that's what you're seeing in the United States. And again, my husband is a former military intelligence, and he points out that these newcomers march in cadence, and they stand at parade rest, and there seems to be like officers from whom they're taking direction if you analyze the videos of people coming in. So it's incredibly concerning, because if it's the UN doing it, which it is, and the State Department, then what you've got is, again, reasoning backward, it looks like an invasion. Right? Reasoning backward, look at what happened on October 7th. What happened on October 7th in Israel is that a handful of terrorists crossed the southern border and brought a whole country to its knees, changed the outcome of Middle East history, took hostages in a heartbeat, and provoked a terrible, terrible loss of life in Gaza. And there's conflict in the area again. Well, imagine what could happen in Britain or in America in a heartbeat if of these 19 million people, 12 to 19 million people, if a handful are terrorists or a handful are military. And J.J. Carroll, my husband Brian O'Shea's co-host for his podcast about this, is a former border agent. He says that terrorist-aligned individuals who used to be interrogated by the FBI and deported are just being waved through and strategically positioned around the country. Well, at a signal, these people could create a mass hostage situation that could bring America to its knees or Britain to its knees. So it's a catastrophic national security threat. And there is, I've been to countries where there's militias and cartels and no rule of law. And that's what we're seeing in America right now. The police are being told to stand down. The newcomers are being encouraged to become police. They're being encouraged to become healthcare workers. And so what you're getting is what we do in other countries, which is the creation of a class of people who have no allegiance to the United States, who are not citizens, who broke the law to get here, who are being promoted and empowered above the level of Americans, given arms, given authority, who are basically creating a fifth column from within, bit by bit to subjugate our country. We're going to be hard to subjugate because we're armed. But Britain and Western Europe are not going to be hard to subjugate because you don't have arms. We don't even have representational democracy.
Debt can bring sleepless nights. Insanely high interest credit card loans, and repayments are very difficult to make, almost impossible. There is a way out though. There is a way to be free from the debt trap. You've heard me talk about this trap. Now here's a solution. The organization that used to be known as Pivotal Debt Solutions are now known as Zero Debt USA, and they have an aggressive, new strategy to end debt faster. Zero Debt USA cut or eliminate interest. They help you owe less and get rid of all of the letters, threatening phone calls, all that stuff. They find solutions to end your debt permanently. Talk to Zero Debt USA for free to find out how fast they can help you get out of debt and into some sensible financial management. Visit zapmydebt.com. That's zapmydebt.com. Zapmydebt.com. Thank you. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.